Hello, and what is going on, everybody? We are back with the MLB DFS slate breakdown for Tuesday, August 19th. We have a 9-game slate on FanDuel, 10 games over on DraftKings. DraftKings does have the doubleheader with Milwaukee and Cubs, whereas FanDuel does not have that second game. Now, before we get into it, come join us at LineStar. $239.99 per month gets you access, for the year, gets you access to everything we do. The props, the DFS, the best ball, you get it all for every sport we cover. And now that we are right to football season, it is the best time of the year to do that yearly option. If you're going to be with us for all of football season, you might as well do the yearly option over the $39.99 per month because it is half price. Now, let's get into it. I'm your host, Tyler Wiemann. We're going to start by going off over the perfect lineups and the winning lineups from yesterday. Then we'll jump into today's picks, the stacks, the pitchers, all of that good stuff. Now, let's jump over to those perfect lineups. So, starting on DraftKings, Trevor Rogers, Robbie Ray. Robbie Ray went nuts. Absolutely just blanked my Padres. Would have given up one home run, but a fan interference stopped that, and guy was extremely good. I talked about how walks are kind of his Achilles heel, and if he's wild, he's not very good. If he's locked in and finding that zone, then he does well. Well, he only had one walk yesterday, and he got it done. So congrats to old Robbie Ray. And then the other perfect lineup pitcher was Trevor Rogers, another guy that we talked about who he's just been excellent so far. 28.75, great game from him. Then we had a 3-man, a little bit of a leverage stack in the Sox. 2-man Braves, Profar, and Harris are just on absolute fire lately. Gunnar did well. Gavin Lux, Kafis brought it home. 474 or 47.4 salary, 265.75. And the winning lineup goes to Dirty Bastards, who had 228.05. Won by a giant margin to Mario. They had Singer, they had Rogers. Then they had a game stack pretty much of that White Sox and Braves game. They went heavy on the White Sox side with a 4-man White Sox, 3-man Braves, and then a one-off of Ellie de la Cruz. Over on FanDuel, Trevor Rogers was our pitcher we needed. We got a 4-man White Sox stack, 2-man Braves, Gunnar, Tovar to round it all out with almost all the salary used, and 331.2 was that FanDuel perfect lineup score. And the winning lineup went to Spike, 028, 250.2. They had Brady Singer. Then the 4-man White Sox stack, 3-man Braves, one off of Bobby Witt. So the old 4-3-2, a very consistent winning lineup construction over on FanDuel got it done. Now let's jump into the picks for today before we can round this all out. Get some. Thank you for showing up. As always, it is much appreciated. I do enjoy having you guys here and being able to communicate a little bit. Now, let's get over to the starting pitchers for today. Once again on DraftKings, 10 games. Highest owned, Carlos Rodon, 21%. I think he probably should be the highest owned. The issue here is that he hasn't been good as of late. 4.97 FIP over the last 5, 3.77 over the last 20, and his K rate is slightly down, giving up a ton of fly balls, but not much hard contact, so the fly balls isn't quite as scary. The other aspect is that we do have decent temps in Tampa. The wind is blowing in though, so it could keep that ball in a little bit. However, the wind is light. Ray's side, They have not been good versus lefties all year long. And the BVP data, Rodon has been very good by them. 239.9 combined K rate. I am absolutely interested in that. And I talked about his recent form not being totally good. It does appear he may be starting to figure it out. He's had a couple games recently. Cubs, he went nuts against last month. Just last time out, Minnesota, 7 innings, 1 earned run, 5 Ks. This is another spot where he could potentially get it going. I do have to warn you, though, averaging 23.3% less fantasy points while away. Rodon is one of the pay-up options that I like, along with Hunter Green and Pivetta. Then I think we can kind of get different, and there's definitely some options to get different today. Hunter Green at 9K. He went 85 pitches in his last start, 6 innings, 0 earned runs, 6 Ks. Now, he's in an interesting spot here. All in all, he's been very good on the season. 3.19 FIP over his last 20. FIP of 3 over his last 5. Real solid K upside. He is averaging 38% less fantasy points when away, though, but I'm not really too scared in this spot. He is averaging 60% fly balls, 33% hard contact, so the opportunity for a home run by the opponent is there, but as of late, they haven't been hitting that ball that hard. Minus 163 ISO is, above league average, but it's not that scary of a number when it comes with a 28% K rate and a low average. If Luzardo can limit guys on base, I think he is in a very interesting spot to have a great game versus the Angels, who are very, very boom bust. There is decent hitting weather. The ballpark does play up to home runs, but all in all, Hunter Green's in a great spot and probably a little bit safer at his price than Carlos Rodon. Next, we got Nick Pivetta. Padres need to get it going here. Now, Pivetta has been an absolute stud this year, and especially so at home. He's been much better at home. We got a 3.54 FIP over his last 20, 3.78 over his last 5. The K rate has fallen off over the last 5, though. It's at 18% versus 65 over the last 20. It's a little bit scary, but we are versus a team in the Giants who haven't been hitting that well. 22% K rate. The issue with Pivetta, like I always say, is he just allows a lot of hard contact and fly balls. So he is prone to giving up the big hit. If he can limit those, Pivetta is very, very interesting. I agree. Pivetta masterclass to get San Diego back on track is going to be coming. I like Pivetta a ton in this spot. Not just being a homer. It is the fact that he is just so much better at home. His price is down a little bit, and he has just been a stud all season long. The issue that I see with Pivetta is that he actually faced them just 6 days ago, but went 6.2 innings, 1 earned run, 5 Ks in San Francisco, where he is not quite as good. Earlier this year, 5.1, 3 earned runs, 9 Ks, and then he had 1 blow-up outing versus SF as well. All in all, I think Pivetta is in a very interesting spot. He's a guy that can get you into the 30s, and at 9,500, that's very attractive to me. First pivot, it's the pay-up pivot, and we're going Brandon Woodruff versus the Cubs. Look, the Cubs have been awful offensively lately. 227 average, 140 ISO, sub 300 WOBA, striking out at 21.7%, and Woodruff has been good. 3.43 FIP, 3.77 over the last 5, 28% K rate. That K rate is elevated. Fly balls are there, but not very much hard contact, and the wind is blowing in at Wrigley for this game. I think I would be very, very in on Woodruff on DraftKings, where we'll have a game total of 6.5. Brewers are slight favorites, and Cubs have just been on struggle street lately. So I think Woodruff at a little lower ownership is super interesting. Shane Baz, we should touch on. He's only 7,700 and has been pretty good. This is my issue with Shane Baz. He's been much worse versus lefties, and Yankees can pile in a ton of lefties in this lineup. And second, he's been much worse at home. Those two aspects very much scare me in the small park of Steinbrenner Field down in Tampa. So I am definitely worried about that situation. If you want to go there, I absolutely understand it, but he also got blown up in his one outing versus them this year. However, it was April, so maybe don't take a ton about it, but last year he struggled versus them as well. I think this matchup is extremely tough for him. Next, Joe Ryan, 9,800, another pay up option. Dude has been dealing all year, 3.29 FIP over his last 5, 27% K rate. His StatCast data is always scary. He's another guy that just lets a lot of fly balls, a lot of hard contact, like Pivetta. If he doesn't give up home runs, he has a really good game. He just needs to keep guys off base, limit it to maybe one solo shot, and he's looking very, very good in an interesting spot. The one thing is the opponent splits have been rough lately. 280 average, 242 ISO, 366 WOBA. It is not a great spot for the A's or for Joe Ryan versus the A's, but absolutely interested in him. He can shut this team down, and there's big time upside at 9,800 going low owned at only 14%. Next, we got to talk about Jacob Lopez, and this is one of the most interesting ones on the whole board for me today. The guy has been absolutely dealing. 2.74 FIP over his last 5. His last 2 outings, he goes 14.2 innings, no earned runs, and 19 Ks. He's at 30% K rate over his last 5. The outing before that, 5 innings, no earned run, 5 Ks. Outing before that, 4.1, no earned runs, 4 Ks. So you have to go back till July 21st for him to have given up a run. Plus, he's versus Minnesota, who has been struggling at the plate and can be a little bit strikeout prone. Jacob Lopez at 8,200 has the ceiling you want and is going super low owned. There's got to be some interest with what he's done lately, and I'm absolutely there for it. Now let's get over to FanDuel. Talk about our high-owned guys over here. We got Joe Ryan at 10.1K, Pivetta 9.7, Hunter Green at 9.9. Those are probably my 3 favorite. I also do like Rodon. Over on FanDuel, he is going a little lower owned, so I think there's absolute interest in there. One guy I think we do need to talk a little about is Seth Lugo. He has been absolutely terrible the last 2 times out, but we know this is a guy that has been proven, can get it together, and when he does, he can go 7 innings, give you 6 Ks, get you the win, the quality start, all that kind of stuff. And at 7,900, it's interesting. The other aspect is he really doesn't have 2 absolutely terrible starts in a row very often. And when he does, he has popped up and righted the ship in the past. Does that mean he's going to right it today? No. But I think it does give some added benefit or added reasons to go there. And because if you're looking at just the data alone, you would want to steer totally clear of him. 7.2 FIP over his last 5, absolutely terrible. 5.12 over the last 20 is scary. It is over a 3.85 ERA, though, and he is a guy that can handle that elevated FIP. Somehow he just continually gets away with it. And then his K rate when he is on is a guy that has a little bit higher of a K rate, more 24, 25-ish%, more like a Chris Bassett, who is kind of a boom bust play, giving up a ton of hard contact. But overall, the StatCast data isn't that bad. Ton of ground balls, Not many fly balls, just a little bit too much hard contact. If he's missing some bats today, it becomes a little interesting of a play, and he's been good versus Texas in the past. I have some interest, not going to go overboard on him, but there's definitely some interest there. And obviously, Jacob Lopez at 9.2K is also in play. But at that elevated price tag, may not get a ton of him and may go to the other payoff options over here. Now let's get over to the stack attacks before we can round this out. Our highest owned stack of the day is the Padres, 99% owned. So you're looking at 5 guys around 20%. That is the highest. I think there's plenty of ways you can get different. Due to ownership alone, I would not fade them. Now, if you want to go 2 chalky pitchers and Dodgers, you're going to have to get different with the rest of your lineup. But I think Dodgers are in a good spot once again, and I cannot blame you for wanting to play them. It is mid-80 temps, winds at like 8 to 10 mile an hour blowing out. I doubt the Dodgers have 2 games where they only put up 3 runs in Colorado. So I got to have some interest in the Dodgers. Might be a little hard to get away from them. Another spot where it's just the implied total is just way higher than everybody else. Highest projected, Dodgers, no big surprise there. Our highest value plays, we got Cleveland versus Erod and the Diamondbacks. Eduardo Rodriguez has been getting blown up. Cleveland absolutely makes some sense. They're also going low owned, so they are a way to differentiate your lineups if you want to play some Dodgers. There's absolutely interest in there. Texas versus Lugo. We said Lugo's been absolutely terrible, and with that, Texas does bring some interest. 7.2 FIP over the last 5. Texas is better versus righties. Absolutely have some interest in trying to pick on them. Our high ceiling play, we got Milwaukee and the A's. Joe Ryan, he's a very good pitcher, but hard contact, fly balls, gives home runs versus a team with pop. If those home runs come with a couple guys on base, it starts to look interesting there. Tyone versus Milwaukee absolutely has some interest in this spot with a 4.99 FIP over the last 5. Over the last 20 and a 5.38 over the last 5, and splits that are in Milwaukee's favorite. They've been very, very good. Our high leverage play, we got Yankees versus Baz. I already talked about how Baz is worse versus lefties and worse when home. Both of those situations are going to come to light in this game. Yankees have a ton of lefties they can throw at him. And with that, I think the Yankees stacks are very interesting and go a little under-owned. You see here, 10, 11, super, super low owned 5-man stacks over here in Yankeeville, and very interested in that. Now let's click the teams tab before we round this one out. 7.2 implied total for the Los Angeles Dodgers is a wild number. Nice hitting weather, bad pitcher, poor bullpen, makes a ton of sense. Then you got Boston at 4.3. Sagano, who they're going against, gets by movement and placement. If either of those are off, it's batting practice for Boston, so I think they do warrant some consideration. Colorado versus Emmett Shaheen. Emmett Shaheen has been in Colorado twice in his career. Both starts pretty good. That does not mean that you should fade Colorado. You get very good hitting weather, 4.8 implied run total. The team hits way better there, and I'm fine getting to some Colorado at much lower ownership. Braves have been hot, 4.6, especially Profar and Harris. Absolutely need to consider those guys. They have been just smoking hot, and Harris has been one of the best hitters since the All-Star break, and Smith, 5.69 FIP. Think you can consider the Padres. Tang, 7.2 FIP over his last 5. Padres splits are very, very good versus righties, and they need to get right. So absolutely some interest in Padres. Cincinnati versus Hendricks. Hendricks, I never like to stack against, but that bullpen is so bad, you got to consider them. Minnesota versus Lopez is tall task lately. Lopez has been great. Arizona versus Bybee. Bybee is boom bust. A lot of interesting stacks towards the top half. As we move down, I have a lot less interest. The spots that I would carry some interest, Carlos Rodon hasn't been great lately. Milwaukee, very interesting to me. And then Yankees as well. So Yankees are probably my highest, my favorite, lower implied total team stack. I think they're in a very interesting spot and going totally overlooked. You get a couple home runs in that small ballpark and they can easily get up there. My favorite one is obviously the Dodgers. It's just going to be hard to get away from them. Either small stacks, big stacks. I mean, they are head and shoulders above everybody else today, but we are playing a game where we're playing against everybody else and they're going to be super high owned. So there is leverage in getting away. That's going to do it for us today, guys. I hope you guys have a great afternoon, and I will be back in probably about 45 minutes or so with the props video. Hope to make some money for you guys over there today. Have a good one. Please like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and we'll be back in a little bit. Bye.